Hi, I'm Star Austin, Religious Education Specialist, and today I want to talk to parents and families about how to frame the educational experience your children are having just daily living in your life, in your home during this time of quarantine and the coronavirus. So, we've been talking a little bit about the fact that this is a global crisis and this has a traumatic response on all of us, including our children, and that we have wrongly labeled this time homeschooling when what we should, in fact, be calling this is crisis schooling because children are having to do their schoolwork at home, not because their parents opted to homeschool them, and not because there's a framework or a pedagogy around what homeschooling in that family is going to look like, but because there's a global crisis and the schools have shut down. And so many of our parents are grappling with trying to recreate the academic environment, which, for a lot of reasons that we covered in earlier videos on parenting in a global crisis, isn't necessarily the appropriate approach right now for your child's well-being or your own. Trying to create an 8-hour school day is not going to be easy while you're also trying to work, do extra meals because the kids are home, deal with sibling issues, and just the stress of going out to try and get some groceries once a week. This is a stressful time, friends. And so I want to talk a little bit about how we can frame the activities that we're already doing with our kids so that you can reap the benefits and the knowledge that your children are learning. Learning is a lifelong endeavor and it happens with every activity that we do. We take a walk, we can learn about the plants we see, we can experience nature, science, we might experience skill building if we say hello to neighbors. Anything that we choose to do has a learning component to it. So I want to talk to you a little bit about this, and I'm going to share my screen so that we can most aptly go over the examples that I want to share so you understand how to do this framing. So educational framing. So first of all, naming. What was the activity that we did? And then how do we frame that activity? Ask yourself what is introduced, explored, or discussed? And ask yourself whether this was practiced. Was it hands-on? Was it discussion? Was it exploratory? Was it an introduction? And then from that, you'll have the knowledge of the educational value of the activity that you've shared with your child, and you can claim the subject area that that belongs to. So let me just switch screens for us here. And I'm going to show you a couple of real world examples from my family in the last week. And these are just things that we were doing, not because we were trying to do schooling right now, but simply because this is what my children and I chose to do with our time. And so this isn't about necessarily trying to create an educational experience. It's about framing what you've already done. So let's look at some of these examples. The first one I actually want to talk to you about is watching a film. So my kids have been watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's a show that I really wanted to share with them. It's on Nickelodeon. If you want to look it up, it's on Netflix right now. It's on Amazon Prime. So first of all, name the activity. They watched Avatar: The Last Airbender episodes, and there was a brief discussion with my 10-year-old about sexism and misogyny because it's overtly dealt with in this movie, in this show. So how do we frame this? Ask ourselves, what is the show exploring? Well, the show explores colonialism and misogyny and war, because war is part of colonialism. For my kids, it was an introduction of colonialism and a discussion about misogyny. So when I look at the framing, it's clear to me that I can claim this as social studies, that through watching a film, my kids did their social studies for that day. Now, some of you may be rolling your eyes and saying, no, they watched a cartoon. Well, I will invite you, especially for junior high and younger, especially upper elementary, to think back about the times that your student, your child, has watched a cartoon or a movie in their school environment, in the classroom. They've had a day off or a pizza party with a movie. Now, for your child, they think of that as a day off. They didn't have to do school. They got to watch a movie. But your teacher, your child's teacher, knows the educational value of the film that they've selected. They've curated it for the group. They know that there's subject matters being introduced through this medium of film. And sometimes the teacher will follow up on that the next week. Or sometimes they'll choose a film that ties in with something. If you're reading a book, you might watch the movie that accompanies that film. Or if you're doing a study on Japan, then you might watch animation from Japan to give the kids a taste of that culture. So this is absolutely social studies. And yes, parents, you get to count this as schooling. So let's look at another example, reading before bed. So naming, what did I do? I read with my 5-year-old son before bed. How to frame this? What did we specifically do? Well, we took turns reading. I would read one page, he would read another. So what was happening is part of the framing question. What happens when we do that? Well, language acquisition. He's learning new vocabulary. He's sight reading, and he's practicing reading aloud. He's getting used to his voice. So how can we claim this? Well, this is literacy, or as it would have come home on his report card, being in kindergarten, reading. So we get to claim that nightly reading that you do with your kids, that is an important part of literature and reading for them. An example of listening to music. So naming it, one day over lunch, we listened to music from Colombia. So this was an introduction of Colombian music for my kids, and it was an introduction of culture through the music from that culture. We didn't do anything with this. We just enjoyed it while we had our lunch. I let them know it was from Colombia, and we moved on. This is World Music Appreciation. Again, some of you may be grappling with, you had music on, how is that educational? Well, again, I'm going to invite you to think about your elementary kids' music class. Yes, they might be learning to play the recorder, or they might have an instrument such as the flute or the saxophone that they play regularly. Are they learning the piano? They're also singing songs. They're learning folk songs usually in elementary school, and they have World Music Appreciation Days where they listen to music from different countries, or they listen to classical music to get a taste for how music is different around the world. And finally, my last example is playing a game with kids. So this is a game called Zeus on the Loose. I highly recommend this game. It's a Game Right game. All the Game Right games are educational and they're very fun. My children, both 5, 10, and 17, love the Game Right games. So that's a plug for them. So naming this, what did we do? We played Zeus on the Loose. Framing that, what is happening in this game? Well, this is a math facts game. So it's hands-on practice with math facts. For my 5-year-old, we do addition and subtraction. For the 10-year-old, she does multiplication and division in the way that she plays this game. This is mathematics. This is practicing math facts. So again, just to review, educational framing, you name what the activity was. If it helps you to write this down and it makes you feel more accomplished as their at-home parent/teacher right now, then keep a little log and write down, go through this process. Name what you did. What was the activity? Frame it. What was introduced, explored, or discussed, and how was that material interacted with by your children? And then claim the subject area that you can accredit this material to. Life is learning, friends. It doesn't have to be worksheets and it doesn't have to be 8 hours. It can be these small chunks of family fun or sibling fun. The siblings can play a game, they can watch a show together, they can listen to music, they can read aloud together. They can go over and do some cooking, make muffins, to work with measurements for your younger ones, work with the idea of chemistry and baking. So there's a lot that can happen just in life skills and enjoyment in the family home that is learning. So I hope parents and families, you can take this educational framing, that it will give you some peace of mind as we continue to do crisis schooling in this difficult time. And know that whatever you're doing, however your family needs to tackle school, work, and home right now, it's okay. As long as you are able to get the rest you need and take care of yourself and each other, whatever you need to do is fine. For some of us, we're comforted by the worksheets the school's sending home. For others, we need to abandon those and move into something else, something more like what I've covered today. And there may be a third option still. So whatever you're doing, it's going to be okay. It's not wrong. The choice for you is the right choice for you. If you have any questions or comments, I welcome them. I look forward to talking to you this week. Have a blessed day.